I got Vaseline because my lips are like busted. I put on
Oh my
like
gosh, you have to tell the
lanolin.
story.
Oh yeah. So I've been having very, very chapped lips, and I don't know where this came from. Maybe because it's wintertime, but at Christina's birthday dinner, I was like, does anyone have chapstick? And then Jimin was like, I have Vaseline. And then Rebecca's like, no, no, no. I have this amazing lip balm that like I swear by. It's like the best thing. And so I put it on and my lips started to tingle. You know, when you put on like lip plump tingling sensation, that was happening. And I was like, hey, does this make your lips tingle? And she's like, no, it doesn't. And then I looked up the ingredients and there's soy protein in it, which is what I'm like allergic to. So
Oh
I was
my
reacting to
God.
that. And so now my lips are just like cracked and like every single wrinkle that I have on my lip is bleeding.
Oh.
So I'm
Oh
glad it's
no.
like I was like running my finger across my like bottom and top lip and it feels like Christina's dried contact lenses. You know, like dried contact lenses, how they're kind of like rubbery but hard. And then you want to
Oh
tell
my
her about your
god. Yeah, so the contact lenses, I slept over at Christine's. So it was my birthday over the weekend, right? And then Joanne and I slept over at Christine's place. And I slept on the sofa and then I like lied down and like the lights were off. We said goodnight and I realized I forgot to take out my contacts, which are dailies. So you like dispose of them every day. So I took them out and I like placed them on the coffee table next to the sofa. And then I was taking a shower like the next day. It was like way later, next day, nighttime. I was at my place. I left Christine's like hours and hours and hours ago, and I was like, oh, I like suddenly remembered that I left the contacts on the table and forgot to throw them out in the morning. So I texted Christine. I was like, I'm so sorry. I just realized I left my contacts on your table. And then Christine said like, oh yeah, she like wondered if I flung them onto the table because one of them was like in the middle of the coffee table. But I think what happened was like they dried up, and then in the morning I was like folding the blanket on the sofa. So I think the wind from the blanket blew it over.
But in my
Oh.
mind, I was like, Christina had a few tequila shots that night. So maybe she was like a little bit like over the edge. So I like imagine her like taking the contact out of her eye, just like flinging it in, like
Oh
just.
I
my
wish I was
God.
that free.
Talking about freedom, let's talk about financial freedom.
Wow, that's good.
We are talking about financial freedom. But before we do that, should we talk about what we're eating and drinking in true samcha fashion? Christina, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I'm eating some spicy tuna roll. It's like very red.
I
Yeah.
know. Wow.
And then I have like an old fashioned, but no orange peel. So it's just the sugar, bitters, a little bit of water, and whiskey.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's me. What about you, Christine?
Me, I am eating kimbap for like the millionth time. I don't know how many times I had kimbap. We've been recording samcha. And then I am sipping this thing called escubak sweet dram. Have you guys heard of this before? So I think this is a gin that is distilled with 14 botanicals, including caraway, cardamom, nutmeg, and citrus, then lightly sweetened with raisins, vanilla, and a small amount of sugar. And
Wow.
the label's really cute. Escubak.
It
It's
is.
from France. I've never tried it before, so you gotta. It tastes nice. Tastes like medicinal. It's nice. I'll stop talking.
Okay.
Megan, what are you having today?
What? I'm drinking this straight away organic white tea vodka soda with yuzu and pear. It's pretty good. I
That
already
sounds
opened
so
it.
good.
I think I got it probably like at Whole Foods or something. It's good. And then I'm having it with some chippies, and then I just made like a easy dip with like plain yogurt and dill and lime and onion powder, and it tastes like a green onion dip. No, chive and onion dip.
Yeah. Sour cream and
But
onion
it's
dip? No, I don't know.
a sour cream and onion dip, exactly. Yes, but it's healthy because yogurt.
Yum. I feel like you should put the
Yes,
recipe
dessert.
up on our
Ooh,
socials.
on samcha, on
Yeah.
samcha.com. No, samchapodcast.com.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will
Yeah,
put
yeah.
it.
that'd be
Let me
fun.
take a
We could do some
photo.
blog posts of different snacks. Yeah.
Cool.
As per usual, we are going to be going deeper and deeper today about money and finances and all the fun stuff. So as you all know, samcha is 3 rounds. In each round, we will get drunker and drunker and fuller with our drinks and snacks and talk about finances today. Dun dun
Woo!
dun.
And we all have our
Scary.
glasses on today because we're talking about our finances and not because we ate a burrito. Cheers to your time. Let's go. So, first question is if you were to give yourself a grade A through F, like you would get in school when you take a test, what would you give yourself when it comes to your personal finances?
Okay, I can go first. I feel like right now, where I stand, I'm like pretty comfortable in giving myself a pretty decent grade. I think like in the last few years, like right before the pandemic, I started to learn a little bit more about finances. And so, yeah, I feel good about maybe giving myself like a B plus in grading my own personal finance and kind of what I know and what I'm involved with. I would definitely, though, say that like 5, 6 years ago, I would have totally failed and given myself an F. But right now, I feel good about a B plus.
Like, how have you managed to like take yourself from an F to a B
Mm.
plus? Because that's like a pretty drastic improvement.
Yeah. What's interesting, well, my kind of like quote unquote journey with that is I feel like it's really hard in the beginning to like dive into the world of like figuring all of this stuff out. But then once you're in and once you are like learning more with like the money you have and just kind of developing your knowledge a little bit, it becomes a little bit easier. Like maybe that's obvious with anything. So now that I've kind of like figured out my finances and like feel comfortable with it in the last like 3-ish years, it's taken me, that long to get comfortable.
Well, and also like I'm curious, like
Or like
what made it,
how you're saying like
I guess,
how.
how, but also like what made it an F? Like, were you like in serious debt and then now like you're a B plus
Oh,
because like, you know what I mean? So I'm curious of that,
yeah.
like that drastic improvement in your own grade.
I see. So no, it wasn't because I was in debt. It was I think I gave myself I give myself right now an F 5 years ago because I just had no idea. Like I just had like all my money in like a typical savings account that wasn't doing anything for me. It wasn't growing it at all, which is fine. Like I'm not saying that that's bad necessarily, but in the world of owning your own personal finance and like a financial journey, I feel like it was pretty stagnant. And
Mm.
so because of that,
Mm.
I would give myself an F. Whereas like now I think my money is in a place where, or are in multiple places where it's growing or it's moving. And not only that, I like can understand why it's moving and growing, why it's important. So then I think that kind of pushes me up to
Mm.
B plus territory.
I have friends who are in finance and they talk about finance and their own personal finances. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But when it comes to like what I can control, being someone who isn't in finance, I think I would give myself maybe like a B minus, C plus.
Why?
And I think I say this because I know that I could read a lot more about how to become more financially literate in terms of like the things that my friends in finance are talking about. But then at the same time, like all of the best practices that are known, like put your money or like save 3 to 6 months of your salary and have that as like a baseline, and then put that in like a high yield savings account, and then everything else that you have, maybe potentially explore putting them into like index funds or in ETFs, and then set up your 401k. So I have all of like that, I think is like the baseline, and that I think is like average, and that's like how I measure myself. But then I know that there's a lot more that I can do and a lot more that I can learn, but I just don't really care about it. So I would say that like my curiosity about personal finances is just like, how can I make sure that I'm set up so that I'm not like gonna work until I die? Though I love working, but I don't want to be like working in my tech job until I'm like 85 years old. So setting those like best practices as like the baseline, and then there's so much more to learn, but so little time and care that I have in this specific topic.
It's a tricky question because it's like, yeah, there's a lot of layers to it. And I think for me, like, I think when I was younger, like my parents always instilled in me like saving before you spend, and like always save like this much money and like out of your, your paycheck, when I was like tutoring in high school and things like that. So I think like as a teenager and like very young adult, like student, as a student, I would say like A plus, like I was really good with managing just like my cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
But then I think like now as you like get a job and like you're in the real world and like you're thinking about retirement, yeah, I would probably give myself more of like a C, because that saying like C's get degrees. It's like I've got like my 401k set up. I've got like some, stocks, and like we've like invested in like different things, but then I don't like deeply research it. It's like I'm not studying super hard for it for my
Mm-hmm.
class. And it's like I kind of like figure it out. Like I'll read the
Yeah.
stuff from my work about like what to set up and why, and I kind of just do it and then forget about it. So yes, I would give myself a C, because I like similar to you, Christine, like I've like got the things set up, but I don't like actively kind of research or monitor and that type of thing. Although I know like technically with stocks, like you don't need to like monitor that all the time, because it's like as an example. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
Do you think you were always like a C, or do you think like, as like Megan was talking about like comparing herself to like 5 years ago to like where you are now, would you say that you've made like improvements to how you handle your personal finances, or would you think that would you say that you're like consistently like a C?
no, well, I think I'm still like good with my money,
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like I think I'm just lucky that I don't have to worry too much about like how am I going to pay my rent every month, and like just like pay
Yeah.
for groceries, like those things. Like I am lucky enough that like with my paycheck I don't have to worry about it every single like payment cycle.
Yeah.
So in that sense it's like, yeah, like I'm good, and I don't overspend like out of my means and that kind of thing. So like that has always been consistent, and like I always pay my
Mm-hmm.
credit cards on time, and like those are things my parents instilled in me growing up. But then when it comes to the world of investing and retirement and that kind of thing, it's all very new. And even like if we get into like taxes and stuff, very foreign
Mm-hmm.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like I get by.
Well, you guys both bring up a good point because like growing up, so like when I say 5 years ago, I don't know why I'm arbitrarily using 5, but like growing up, same with you, Christina, like my parents instilled like save, save, save. So I was
Mhm.
always really good with my money. I was never in debt. Again, like super lucky and privileged to be able to say that, but I never like spent above my means. So that was always there. And I always had savings. There was always like an egg. Is that what we is that what we call it? A
Yeah.
nest.
Mhm.
A
Yeah.
nest, as they say. So like there was always a nest. But then I think like once I started making like, you know, like making like good money or like career money, I think that's when I say 5 years ago because I've been at this my first job for it'll be 6 years now, but
Mhm.
it'll be 6 years at the end of this year. But like around 5 years ago, when I first started and was making like career money, I had no idea. Like I was just like, oh yeah, you just put it into savings. Like that's what my parents said. So I take, X amount, X percentage and then put it into my savings. But it wasn't until, yeah, like 3-ish years ago where I started to realize like, wait, but like, what is all this stuff that these people are talking about?
Yeah.
And then kind of like went from there. So I think that's why I gave myself an F, because it was more that like I just really didn't know a whole lot. And I feel like I'm a little bit more well versed in it now.
I remember like when I first got out of college and I had my first job, my manager was like asking me, he was really nice. And he was asking me like, so now you graduated college, like what percentage are you allocating to your 401k? And he was like giving me like a rundown of my like
Mm.
how to set up my finances, but I had no idea what he was talking about. He's like, you have to like elect FSA or HSA and you have to roll things over. And I'm like, where and how? And like, what does that look like? But I remember like out of the gates when I graduated college, I had no idea what I was doing and I had no idea what anything meant. And I was like so afraid to ask like stupid questions because I just simply didn't
Mm.
know. And then I also like remember like right out of college, my parents, or like leading up to college, my parents always gave me an allowance. So my mentality was not like, oh, you should save your allowance. It was more, I'm lucky that my parents can give me allowance every month. um, and it'll like replenish itself by the end. So I had this mentality of just like run it down
The
and then
good
it'll
old
replenish.
days.
Yeah.
Mm.
But then once I graduated college, my parents are like, you're on your own. Like we're not like financially like responsible for you anymore. You moving out of the house and like starting a new life, you're going to have to fund all of that. And it's like, you're on your own. So that's when I was really like, I need to buckle down and like take more responsibility towards my finances and how I see it. But there were so many things that I did that didn't set me up psychologically for success in terms of the way that I saw money, like growing up versus training me for the real world.
I think I have like a similar kind of upbringing as what you were bringing up, Christine. Is like I definitely was lucky enough to get allowance like from my parents, and like I mean they for sure told me like even with allowance like you should save a certain percentage, and I think they were trying to kind of instill in me like even though this money is coming in for free,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
should save it because you might want to get something like really big, or like you might go on like a little trip with your friends or something, and you like want to make sure you have the funds, right? So that was really cool. But I think there wasn't anything more than that. So, like, my parents, they weren't telling me or teaching me about, investments or how to invest, or like what any of that even means. Yeah, it was like kind of an interesting way to grow up. Like some of the concepts were instilled, but I wasn't necessarily like taught from my parents
Mhm.
how to do a lot of the stuff. And actually, a lot of my knowledge came from like Sean's parents and Sean's mom. Um,
Mm.
because once we started getting really serious, we actually like basically took like a finance course from
Ooh.
Mama Whalen. Because
Wow,
she
that's so nice.
yeah, it was really cool. Like I literally have like my notes here. It literally says adulting 101.
I love that.
We sat with her for a few consecutive weeks, for a few months, and we like she literally taught us like these are some of the terms that you should know. These are some of the websites. These are articles that you should read, and
Mm.
like she really helped to like make sense and like what is it like make more human some of these
Mhm.
things, because before it just like there's all these books on finance too, and like I definitely bought a few, and I would open up the first 3 pages and I was like, what the fuck is going on? I have no like it's like for dummies, but like I have, it just goes you're ahead. So a lot of my knowledge definitely comes from like Sean's mom and Sean's parents. But growing up, I did not have like my parents as a resource.
Where did
Not to back
Sean's
them.
mom learn all of it?
I
And the
think
reason I'm asking
yeah.
is also because like I feel like there's this, actually I don't know like Sean's mom's background or anything, but like I was gonna like say earlier, like, you know, our parents are immigrants, and then like it's kind of, I'm wondering if it's like a generational thing, like a new generation thing where we have the funds to be able to like put money into investing and things like that, versus our parents probably were just more like day by day, month by month, like raising kids really young and yada yada yada, right? And so
Mhm.
they didn't have like, you know, money to invest and stuff. And then I just know Sean's mom is like Taiwanese American or immigrated from Taiwan. So I'm curious, like, where, like, how she learned and like came through that. Did she learn like in her adulthood and like kind of figure it out, and then she shared it with you guys? Because that's really cool.
Sean's mom is like not in finance, or she doesn't have a background in finance, but she came to the States for college, and then she stayed beyond until now. If you meet Sean's mom, which you probably will at a
Some point.
wedding at some point.
Oh yeah.
A certain wedding.
Yeah.
Who's
There's a wedding.
wedding?
She's like extremely like independent, like go-getter, like very outspoken, but she's like this tiny like Taiwanese woman. And she's like very, very like power to the woman, like she's like a very independent person. And I think financial independence was like a really big thing for her. And I'm like kind of deducing a little bit just from like the way that I know her. I'm just going to assume that like she wanted to take charge of her finances and like really wanted to learn and yeah, just take control of it. So she like manages all of that and all of her finances and stuff.
So
So
cool.
it yeah, so it's like really
Yeah.
awesome to get her perspective, but also not her perspective. It's just kind of learning from another person instead of a book or like a YouTube video. I mean, YouTube videos actually are really helpful. Like I've definitely watched like Elena Tabor,
Oh,
her
yeah.
like her video on finance, or like there's a
Mm.
lot of people on YouTube that like share, but it's also difficult because I feel like a lot of people share like basics or like they kind of like go through like high level, but it's always nice to like actually put numbers down or like actually try something or actually put, you know, your money
Yeah.
in a certain place. So yeah, it's like she was like such a great resource.
I love that she's just like taking like life by the horns and just like, I don't care. I'm gonna like ride you. I'm gonna your master.
I'll whip you.
Yeah. She whipped finances into shape, you know, like, and that's
Yeah.
not something that like was very, at least from like what I'm comparing my observations from like that generation, it's usually
Mhm.
like typically like finances were handled by men, like our dads, and our moms just, you know, kind of like gave their
Went along
opinions
for
and
the
then
ride.
yeah, but they weren't like the person who was like actually responsible or felt responsible for
Mm.
like where the finances went. I'm very much generalizing here, but at least
Yeah.
from what was common from like the community that I grew up in, that's what I saw. But I
Mm.
love that Mama Whalen was like,
Uh-uh.
I'm going to determine the future and I'm going to study and I'm going to pass this wisdom down on to my children and give them
Yeah.
adulting 101. Parenting 101's
Yeah.
next.
Mhm.
Because learning it yourself, parenting 101 is nice. I just heard it. Learning it like learning it yourself is one thing, but then like teaching it then to somebody else is like a whole
Yeah.
nother thing.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so like she was really able to do that. What like but what's really cool too is like now looking back on it in my life, like
Mhm.
my mom also controls the finances, and she manages, I shouldn't use the word control necessarily, but my mom manages our family's finances. So like my dad works, but then he like brings everything, and then my mom like manages, and she's like money managing queen. Like she doesn't manage it in maybe what we're talking about, like what Sean's mom does with the money and investments and all of these other things. There isn't like that much of a diversification there, but like with my mom, she also manages money, which is, I would say, that's not as common as you just mentioned, Christine. I think, again, completely generalizing here, but like in that generation of immigrants and like Korean Americans or Koreans, you, I think, would mostly see the men
Yeah.
or the dads
Yeah, from my
managing money.
parents, like my dad definitely, I just have memories of him always like checking receipts against like the credit card statements, like making sure it's like all in place. But then my mom would always like handle like tax stuff, and like she like studied accounting for like a little bit as well. So yeah, and then my parents together, like they invested in like a rental property like many, many years ago. Yeah, mine was maybe kind of in between. Like I grew up like seeing both of them like kind of work on it together, even though my mom doesn't, she doesn't work. So my dad is also the one that's just like bringing in the money.
I guess it's really case by case and like family by family, and every family is
Yeah.
different. Like when I think about the way that my parents talked about money, or like how it kind of existed between them in their marriage, it was more like, since my dad's in like the financial services sector, he handled all of our families, and he was the sole, like, what do you call it, like breadwinner. Like we were like a single income family. I think like when it came to like large decisions, like we're going to buy this house, we're going to move here, I'm going to invest like X amount of money in this, like he talked to my mom about that, and that's like all I knew. But when it came to like the day-to-day, month-to-month management, it was never something that I saw my mom handle. It was more like she went to the bank and she withdrew money, or like whatever. She like deposited checks for my dad, but that was to the extent of what I saw. So yeah, I guess it's really like based on.
Yeah. But also like who knows, because it's like money management is something that's so like it's not like physical really, except for like going to the bank and like withdrawing cash, but like
Yeah.
it's so not like physical or like visible. I mean, plus like, it was a different generation, like in our parents'
Yeah.
generation, in terms of like what their financial portfolios like might have been like. I don't know. We could have missed a lot of stuff too. But that's the thing. It's like we don't have those really open conversations like deeply, or I haven't, not to the extent of Mama Waylon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cheers to Mama Waylon
Money.
for
Oh my God, Mama Waylon.
I want to take a class. Maybe she should
yeah.
teach a course. Should
I
we have
mean,
her
she
on as like a podcast guest, and like she could talk about like why she decided to like go against the grain, and then like her
Oh my God, she
story?
could probably talk. She could probably talk forever on going against the grain. Like she's so cool.
Speaking of wanting to take Mama Whalen's Adulting 101 class, what's something that you wish you learned or knew about finance, like, back in your 20s, or maybe like back when you first started working and earning career money? We can like maybe put it that way too. Yeah, what's something you wish you learned or knew before?
So
I
much.
wish I just. I know so much. Let's all jump on.
Yeah.
Like, let's
I
not
wish I
get a
just like.
convertible out of college. Like, what?
You got a convertible out of college?
Do you not remember that car?
Yeah.
What?
Wait, but was it,
Uh-huh.
that was your parents' car though, right? Or was it yours?
No, it was my car.
You bought it?
It was a lease
Christine.
car.
Oh, you leased
Oh
it?
my God.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's like one thing
mm,
that I look back on. I'm like, damn, you're so dumb. Like, I had the information in front of me where it was like, my mom had like a friend who worked at the dealership, and she cut like a very, very good deal for this car. And I was looking for
Mm-hmm.
one, and my mom was getting rid of her lease. And so if we
mhm,
started a new lease after her lease, then we get like an even bigger discount. And so she's like, if you pay X
mm,
amount more, then you can get like this really great car, which is like a little bit out of your budget, or you can stay in your budget but get like the whatever car. So she's like, it's not that much like every month, but I should have, like not fallen into the trap and have been a little bit more like maybe
Fiscally
more for
responsible.
yeah.
That's a good
But
answer.
then yeah, fiscally responsible. I wish I don't know, but then I guess that also led me to like other paths that like I'm like, oh, okay, that like led me to one other like hop where I was like, oh, this is the lifestyle that I want. I think I need to make more money. And then I like
Mm.
Ooh.
encouraged myself to kind of visualize or understand the lifestyle that works for me and then what that would look like in terms of my income and then work towards that. So there's always like a blessing in
Okay.
disguise from your mistakes, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I'm like, you are a dumbass. And like now that I think about the way that my younger brothers are handling their finances, I think I have like a way to communicate to them like some of the mistakes that I've made in my 20s that I'm happy
Mm.
to like pass down to them. And also like now I feel fine, but there's just so many we can go on for days about the dumb things that I did in my 20s.
This like maybe a little boring, but like I just wish I knew things sooner, whether that be like through like I don't know siblings or like through like family or through just learning about it or whatnot. I feel like there was quite a long period of time where I heard all these terms being thrown around, right? Like investing and retirement and all of these things. And I would like dabble, like I would like get a book here, like read a thing there. And I literally have like these books like stacked in my room in LA, like just about finance and like trying to like get into it. And I like lagged for a really long time. And so I kind of wish like took it more seriously and like started earlier because like another like buzz term is like the power of compounding and how like every year, right? Like you can make more and more money. Like not that this is necessarily about like making a ton of money, but also like if I can retire tomorrow, like that would be fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess just like a boring but like very practical answer would just be like I kind of wish like I learned about some of the stuff a little bit sooner and I had more resources to learn about it sooner.
The end.
That's it.
The
end.
Not speaking. For me, I wish that like I got a bigger tolerance for risk earlier on because I've just always been, and I still am very risk averse. But now, like, I don't know if it's just because I like earn more money than I did, 5, 10 years ago. But I'm much more comfortable like putting different portions of my money, I guess our money. That's another topic, I guess, because I've got joint
Oh,
finance.
that's a whole nother topic. Yeah.
Yeah, but like putting our money in different investments and things like that versus just sitting in my savings. But when I was in my 20s, like I just wanted to like keep it all in my savings and just like it became like a rush almost of like, oh, like how much can I add to my savings like every month?
Mm.
But yes, I wish I learned earlier, but I think, the best time to start is just like now, like there's no use in thinking like, oh, if I started like this many years before, I could have earned this much. Like if there's like one thing that I've learned, it's that like the economy and like finances are just very unexpected.
Yeah.
And things can change at any moment. So you just kind of have to, do what research you can, but like, and obviously make sure you've got enough so that you can get by if something happens. But I don't think it's worth it to like try to worry over it, so much,
Wow, you said it really well. I think that's like what I wanted to say. It's what I wanted to say. It's like because it's kind of like how I talked about like all the books. Like I had all the books, and I was like study. I was trying to study it, and that's because I was like scared. I was like I was much more nervous because all my life, right, you have to save and like it's so volatile. Things can be so volatile, so you don't want to like put all your eggs in one basket. Wow, I use that. I
Eggs.
just used that term
eggs.
twice. Yeah,
Eggs.
eggs. Ooh, is that the name of our episode? Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
We
sorry.
should talk
So
about
yeah,
like the egg inflation thing too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god!
Eggs
Don't
are
even get me started.
Eggs are like $20.
Yeah,
Dude, I
$20.
love Vital Farms, but like if it's gonna literally be $20 for 12 eggs, like I cannot afford. Okay,
No.
anyway, yeah, so I think thank you for saying what you
Hmm.
said is
Well, I'm glad
basically
it resonates with you.
yes.
Yeah. The joint finances, well,
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, we're kind of good right now because we're dink, like we're double income, no kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but going back to ilcha, like I think we know that there's things that we need to do, and I think Dane like maybe does a little bit more research and has like more friends who are into finance. And I just think in general socially guys talk about money more than girls and all of that. But yeah, it can be hard to just like sit down and like let's talk adulting 101, like Mama
Yeah.
Waylon. um
Yeah.
but it's a good practice.
Sean and I, we use Notion like religiously, and so we'll
Mhm.
build it into like our Notion. Like we have like a finance tab, and like we'll just constantly update and like get together and like talk about it. That was one thing that was pretty easy for us. After, especially after like Mama Whalen Adulting 101, it was quite easy
Mm.
to like build it into like our day to day. So if it helps and if scheduling is like a thing,
Mm.
it's like if you put in something like once a quarter or like once a month, I don't for folks if you need, then it's nice to like know that like okay, that Saturday for X amount of hours we're going to have a chat about, X, Y, and Z, and just like be on
Mm.
top of it. So that's something that we do, and it's like been really helpful to like be aware of like how much pad thai we're ordering because it could get wild over
Yeah,
here.
that's the
Yeah.
tricky thing because like before I got married, like I religiously used YNAB. It's this app, you need a budget,
Mm.
so
Uh-huh.
YNAB.
Mm.
It's called YNAB, and it's actually like a paid app, but it just works really well. It's based on the envelope method, which means like instead of like forecasting your budget, you take like your paycheck and then you're putting it into like, you know, theoretical envelopes of different
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
categories. And so you're really just like spending within your means, and like you can like
Yeah.
put aside however much for savings and stuff. And so I got really just like into managing every single dollar that I was getting. But then now like that we have joint, like we have a joint account, but we also have our own separate checking accounts, but like our paychecks
Mhm.
come into our account. And yeah, it just gets to be like a lot more unruly when there's like two separate
Two
people's credit
people.
cards. Some of our credit
Yeah.
cards were like each other's authorized user. Some it's just like our own. Like, yeah, so it's a lot
Yeah.
bringing two
Yeah.
That's
together.
like a
But
whole nother episode.
yeah, that is.
That's hacha right there.
Oh my God. Like when you bring someone into your finances and
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
money and relationships.
Which is like interesting because like my parents got married in their 20s, and so that's like when we were kind of learning a lot of this stuff. So
Mhm.
I guess my parents kind of learned a lot of it together, but then for me and Dane, like we learned individually in our 20s and then had to like come together like at 29 and 30.
Yeah.
So maybe that plays into it as well.
That was in my last relationship. We did that. We were like, what are our financial goals? Like, what kind of life are we going to build together? And so I think like that set me off on like the right track of, oh my God, I should cut back on certain things, or like I should be more loose about spending in other areas. Or I think like one thing that I learned like between my 20s and 30s is that sometimes I have is like restrictive mentality when it's not completely necessary. So whenever it came to like planning a vacation or like eating out, if it wasn't like, if you didn't create those like buckets of like allocating in certain categories, then you just have this like perpetual fear that like you're overspending. But in the exercise that I had with my last relationship, it gave me a little bit more freedom to say like, oh, it's okay to spend in this area, and then you really need to chill out on your DoorDash orders. when it comes to what you've learned from your 20s and what you've established in your 30s and your understanding of your own, I guess, financial health, what do you look forward to when it comes to like this decade and your 40s and 50s? Is there something that like you financially are like planning for, something that you look forward to, or is there something that you kind of are manifesting for yourself in terms of like financial well-being?
I think it's kind of related to what we just said about, when you are really looking at all of your finances and you are paying attention and you're not just like, it's not in the back of your mind, like you can see where everything is. It gives you a little bit more freedom to say, oh, it's okay to like spend in this area because that's what it's allocated for. And I've got this other money that's saved here or invested there. So I think something I've noticed like as I've grown older is like, yeah, because of like gaining more control, like being okay to like enjoy myself within within the means that I've set. So I think I look forward to that. But at the same time, like I know that I'm gonna have like when we start a family and like if we decide to buy a home, like there are gonna be like a whole slew of other financial decisions and factors that come in. So I'm a little nervous, about how that will impact and, just our lifestyle, all the new things we'll have to learn. But hopefully it's just like it's a thing where you keep learning and then you get like a new challenge, but like you're better than you were last year. And then you just like keep building off of that. So I think enjoying things that, we have set, for ourselves to enjoy. And then hopefully just like taking on those challenges by the horns, like Mama Waylon.
And writing it.
Writing it.
Ooh, for me, the obvious one kind of coming to mind is like I am again like kind of just really starting to feel pretty comfortable in like my knowledge of some of the stuff. And so, but I still, gave myself a B. What did I give myself? A B plus?
Yeah.
So hopefully, I can be at like an A
B plus plus.
A plus plus.
A plus plus plus.
I feel like I'm gonna reserve the A plus pluses for the finance folks. But yeah, like I think just like becoming like so well versed in it that like I could maybe tell someone or teach someone about something, which I think like I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm comfortable with like my knowledge, but then if I needed to like teach someone like a whole concept about something, like I don't necessarily know how that would come across. So maybe something like that. I think what is actually kind of interesting is like my kind of like thoughts or wishes or considerations for like my 40s or my 50s is kind of like almost the opposite of what Christina just said, which her second part, which is like, the challenges of like, growing a family and like all of this other stuff. Like, I think when I was growing up or like even like, 5, 6, 7 years ago, like before Sean, I was thinking about like the next step, which is like, oh, you save up and then you like buy a house, or like then you save up and then you like have kids, and then, like those types of steps. But as I'm like living my life and as like I have this partner and I have like grown this family, of 2. I am realizing that like what I maybe knew or thought I knew about like these like big pillars that are coming up might not necessarily come in the way that I thought. And so I think just kind of, I don't know. I think just maybe like acknowledging those things and like really fully understanding those things in the context of like finance and financial security and like what that means, I think will be kind of interesting to see how it plays out in the next decade or like 2 decades of our lives. But also it would be nice to like not have to work.
Yeah. Because this podcast is going to take off and we're going to be full-time podcasters.
We're going to get paid to talk.
That
And
would be
that's not
great.
work. Yeah.
That's what I'm manifesting for
Yes.
my 40s.
Yeah.
What about you, Christine?
I think what I envision for my, I guess, like 30s, 40s, and 50s is like changing the path that I've been charting in my 20s and 30s. I think that most of my 20s and 30s, I've taken, like, as Christina mentioned, like very safe bets to get to like a lifestyle that I wanted to live or prove something to myself. So it was like I manifested like moving to San Francisco or manifested moving to New York and living in a loft in Williamsburg. So all of those things, kind of all of my financial decisions had kind of have been informed by what I had manifested or like what I wanted in my life. But now I think that in my 30s, 40s, and 50s, I think about like time as like a resource in addition to money and how to like balance a good life between the two. I'm starting to like really enjoy my job and I've never felt this way in my career
Oh, that's
before,
good.
like ever, which is really great. But then now with like the other time that I have, how can I like shift energy towards potentially exploring like new like supplementary areas outside of my career that could make my life feel more full outside of like just saving, like perpetually saving, without having an understanding of what I would gain from that. So I do obviously like manifest new things now. Like the things that I manifest are like a vision of like taking my mom and dad traveling to enjoy like new countries and new experiences while they're healthy, and like not fly economy. Like I want to like freaking ball out and take them on like a business class flight and take them to like a nice hotel and like not have that feel like such a pinch in my finances. So there's like new things that I'm manifesting, but like how can I like rewire my brain to not think that like the safe path is the only path, but maybe take more actions towards utilizing my time in a way that is like satisfying and also can get me to what I'm manifesting in the future. That all came out of my ass, but I think that's I think
You just pooped it all
that
out.
is I just pooped it all out, but it's been something that I've been thinking about is like, what is this all for? Like, why am I saving up? And like, I might die like next month, or I mean, knock on wood, I'm not going to die, but it's just, you never know. Like, you're just preparing yourself for like like a very conventional life where you retire at 65 and then like you, I don't know, raise your kids and like farm or like garden in the backyard. But that's not necessarily like the life that I want to live. I want to live a life where I really deeply enjoy my work and I work until the day that I die because I loved my work so much. I think it's more like reframing like conventional thinking and really like trying to understand what I want to do with the time that I have, which is very, very limited. So it's like money and time, but like time is actually a little bit more valuable to me now than money is.
Finding that balance for yourself is so difficult, but probably definitely going to be so obviously rewarding. And then trying not to like compare that balance to anybody else because you know, you grow up thinking one thing, or like you spend half a decade or a decade thinking, you know, you want this for yourself, but then if it changes, it does. But like finding that perfect balance, key.
I have none of it. Like if you see like this little frame right here, it's like my side projects, like the first meal that I'm having of the day, some alcohol, like the podcast mic, like books, and then like work schedule. So I'm like doing like 40 things right now. And this is just a representation of the fact that I don't have enough time to do all the things that I want to do. Yeah.
Time is money, but then money buys us
time.
time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm all tangled.
Chicken or the egg?
Yeah, totally.
Back to the egg.
In like the past like 3 months, what is the most like fulfilling thing that you got with the money that you earned?
Ooh.
My
Just
salad
the three-
spinner. My 100
What kind of
not
salad
even
spinner
a
is
pause.
this?
It's like okay, so like it's an OXO salad spinner, but
Is it
it's
white?
glass.
Oh,
Glass.
It's
glass.
glass.
It would be glass, Megan. You
I
would have a glass.
legit Yeah, it's fucking heavy, but
Mhm.
it's like life-changing. Everyone go out and get a friggin' salad spinner because like you think it's like okay, so it took me so long. Wow, the excitement in my voice. It took me so long to get a salad spinner because I was like, it's gonna take it takes up so much room and
Mm,
like whatever, like it's you just like you just take your salad and like greens and a colander and just like go like this and it's fine, but like
yeah.
no, it's so it actually like my veggies last longer in the fridge, and it's like
Wow.
it's such a like good piece of equipment, so
Wait,
I
actually,
don't
Yeah.
know.
this is like I got a salad spinner recently too, but it's just like it's not like a fancy one, it's plastic. But I had like it's the top like locks in place, so you could also use it like as storage almost, right? I'll show you. But like so
Oh.
Okay, okay.
I have some like chopped lettuce in the salad spinner in my fridge, but then I've been really
Oh.
bad this past week and I don't know if that lettuce is still good, but we should do it. I'm gonna do a test right now and grab the
Ooh.
salad spinner.
Yes, go go go. Yeah, the salad spinner, this one, it locks too. So like the top goes down and then it locks. So then you
Mhm.
could place something on top of it, but it's still like this big
Mm.
clunky thing. Wow.
Okay, so yeah, so it locks in place and then it
Oh wait, I
opens.
think this is this OXO?
It is OXO, but it's not glass.
I know, but there's a plastic one and a glass
So
one,
this is
and I have
this is the
the
plastic.
glass one.
Yeah, this is the plastic
Yeah,
one.
and then there's like a
Okay.
stopper.
This lettuce still looks pretty crisp.
I'm telling
Wow.
you. I'm
And it
That is
doesn't
telling you.
and
very,
it
very economical of you.
and
In
it
these
doesn't
hard
smell burnt.
times, like
It
you're
has
gonna
no
be
Dude,
saving
scent.
money.
no, eat one.
My nose is like in there.
Eat
Okay.
one.
Mhm.
Okay, let's do some ASMR.
Wait, how long ago? Or like how long has it been?
Yeah.
Let's see. I think like at least like I think it's been there for like a week.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
See? Oh my God. It's honestly the best
All that money
purchase
you're
ever.
saving? Yeah. In the long run.
I didn't know there was a glass one. I would have gotten that.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Mhm.
so like, it is pretty ridiculous because it's so heavy, but because it's glass, you can use it
Mhm.
as like a salad, like its own
It's like a
salad
bowl.
bowl to like
Yeah.
use
It's
it.
Mm.
Yeah.
prettier.
So anyway,
Well, mine was not the salad
nice.
spinner, but now it is because I was kind of scared to check that lettuce. It's kind of like when you're scared to look at your finances, right? You're like,
Yeah.
oh, is it
Yeah.
like, I just like, ignorance
Was
is
it worth
bliss.
it?
And now I know I'm not afraid of my greens. So, um,
That's awesome.
yeah, but I think my answer is getting a cleaning lady. And we don't have her come like all the time. She's come like
Mhm.
3 times total in the past like year, maybe. So it's like maybe like once a quarter. And it's just when like the dust buildup is just really big and like I'm just so tired. And every time she comes, which again has just been a few times so far, like I'm so happy and I'm so relaxed and
Mhm.
like I just feel so good because everything is spotless. Yeah, so that
And
would
she
be
makes like origami with your toilet paper.
she like
Oh my
rolls like a little
God.
flower and then like does something where
So
then
cute.
it like she uses like water maybe to like stick it on and so it's like this pretty little it's so cute.
It's insane.
That's kind of like time because like
Yeah.
it would take you probably, I don't know, 3+ hours
Mhm.
to do that good of a job, like in,
Yeah.
whatever. So
Mhm.
you just bought yourself some time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Money is time. Time is money. For me, I would say the thing that makes making money so worth it is my Pilates classes. So I bought like unlimited monthly Pilates classes. So basically, I can take however many classes I want. It's kind of pricey, but I think about that also as like an investment, my health and my own mental sanity. So all of the benefits that I gain from moving my body and taking these classes, like so worth it. It's like the thing that makes me the happiest in terms of where my money's going.
Aww.
Look
Yeah.
at ourselves making
We're
Look at ourselves
happy.
spending money.
making and spending money.
Moral of the story, is money leads to happiness. Just kidding.
Story. Just kidding, but it does. But just kidding, but maybe it does.
Yeah. It's just a
At least
resource.
temporarily.
That's it. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways,
That was
guys,
fun.
Yeah,
We
that
did
was
the
very
hard
fun.
thing.
Cheers, we
we
did.
did the hard thing.
Of
Talking
eating
about
my,
the monies.
eating my old lettuce.
Mm-hmm. I think this also is sponsored by OXO Grips Company.
Yeah. So OXO and
Oh,
Notion.
should I leave you guys with the first like finance tip
Yes. In your adult
that I got?
notes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
in the first little bit I got in Adulting 101. So there are 4 main buckets in your finances. One is ongoing expenses like food, groceries, mortgage, rent, gas, like your car, right, insurance, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Then 2 is like a safety. So that's 6 to 12 months worth, closer to a year if you can, of like cash. That means like
A
not
year?
like physical cash. Yeah,
Mhm.
not like physical cash, but like flowing cash.
Liquid.
Right?
Like
Things
expendable,
liquid.
whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, liquid. So yeah, Mama Whalen said 6 to 12 months worth, but closer to a year. Because just in case, you just never know. The more the better. And then next, the third bucket is your kind of like next big purchase. That could be, I don't know, a down payment on a house. Maybe you're looking for a new car. Maybe you're going on like a big trip, something like that. And then fourth is your long-term investments. So like Roth IRA, 401k, like a brokerage account, your HSA, things like that. So if you think about it in those 4 buckets, and you can, maybe I think just starting would even be like, what are in your 4 buckets? Because like sometimes like that was difficult too, to like sit there and go like, wait, yeah, what is an ongoing expense? Like, yes, your Netflix account definitely should go on there. And then writing all of those out, you can actually see like how much money you're spending.
Yeah.
So leaving
Very
you with a
helpful.
little bit of wisdom.
Thank you, Mama Whalen.
Thank you, Mama Whalen.
This video.
Cheers to Mama
Whalen. Mama
Whalen.
Whalen.
Cheers.
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 All right.
So if you want to just interact with us more, find us on social media at Samcha Podcast, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, although we mostly post on Instagram, but we'll try to post on the others as well. And then samchapodcast.com is our website, and you can email us at samchapodcast@gmail.com.
Gmail. Please email us. Like, send us a
Hit us
nude.
up. What?
Noodles.
Noodles. Bowls of noodles.
Noodles.
Balls and noodles.
Okay. Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.